So we're gonna. Good evening. Again, I would like to call to order the Village of Roscoe Board meeting.
Someone's echoing.
Nice.
No, me.
Maybe a long meeting.
I can't even get out of the room. There we go. I couldn't get the meeting to come up yet. It was.
Thank you. Tuesday, July 18th. If you wish to join us remotely, you can log on, look at our website. Would we all please rise and pledge allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Babcock,
That's
Petty, Black,
Here.
Malco,
Here.
Simon,
here.
right?
Here.
Justice.
Here. Public comment. Anyone wish to make a comment? If so, stand, give your name to the board. Is there anyone online? No. Okay. Public comment is closed. Item 5. Presentation, enterprise fleet management and leasing.
Yes, and Daniel is joining us virtually tonight. Daniel, are you in there?
Yes, I am. And do I have the ability to share my screen with you guys today?
Good. Yes.
Okay, great. 1 second here.
They do have your presentation in their packets too, if they want to track along.
Okay, perfect. All right, can you see that here?
Yes. I like that one too. Okay.
Perfect. All right. Well, first and foremost, I want to thank you guys for having me here today. We've had a really good partnership with the village. Scott and I have had a lot of successes over the last year or so since I've taken over. Prior to me, it was a couple other client strategy managers. First and foremost, my name is Danny Gray. I am your dedicated client strategy manager. Essentially, what we do is we come in and we make recommendations based on how to most effectively run your fleet. It's an open-ended leasing structure. So essentially it's not like a dealership lease, which is probably what you think of when you hear of leasing. It's more of you lease from us in order to preserve cash flow, but you own all the equity in the vehicle. So at the end of the lease term, when you sell the vehicle, that money goes back to the village or into the next lease that you decide to have. I also have here with me Lindsay Ireland. She is our area sales manager. Lindsay, would you like to do a brief introduction?
Good morning, all. Yes, or afternoon, or evening. I don't even know what time it is. My name is Lindsay Ireland. I am the area sales manager out of our Chicago office. We are local, so we are local here in Oak Brook, Illinois. So we do come on site to your location there where we are holding a series of meetings that we do hold throughout the year. And what that might look like is a planning meeting, a recap meeting where we are looking at spending recaps of what we have spent over the last 24 months compared to the last 12 months. So really we can show you the value add of, is this program make financial sense for the village? And then ultimately something else to put out there in your radar is any type of volunteering our organization can take a part of, any type of foundations, grants that we can partake in. I also want to put that out there that is something that we support with our Enterprise Holdings Foundation for all of our customers.
All right, so I will jump right in. So we're just basically going to do a high level overview of what we do, kind of who we are and how we provide value to the village. So for starters, I'm sure you guys have all heard of Enterprise. Essentially, Enterprise Holdings owns Enterprise Rent-A-Car, Enterprise Rent-A-Truck, Enterprise Car Sales. We are not that. We are the sister company. So we are owned by Enterprise. That is our umbrella company. but we are not affiliated necessarily directly with the rental car side of things. So we are our own entity. We help a lot of municipalities similar to yourselves, as well as any small business, so 20 cars or more. So we are separate. That's where the leasing structure comes in. So when you think enterprise fleet management, it's not necessarily the rental. Again, going back to kind of how it's not a sunk cost, whereas any payments that you make towards the rental, you do own the equity at the end of the day. So moving on, just a couple high-level overview of where you were when we began the relationship and where we are today. So when you guys first came on board, average age of your vehicles was a 2012. Your average odometer was 50,000, and the average market value of those vehicles was 16,000. In the last 4 years, we've been able to advance that average age up to 2020. Average odometer is 24,000, and your current market value $40,000 or $40,500. So essentially, like I said prior, that resale value, the 40,000, that all goes back to the village or towards new leases in order for you to run the most efficient fleet possible. So value of cycling, overall 40% increase in resale value. You're also saving $6,500 a year in maintenance and $7,500 in fuel savings by running a more efficient fleet. Now, financially that's not the only aspect that we necessarily look into. So one thing especially important for municipalities is safety. So prior to partnering with us, your average age was 2012. As I'm sure you guys have all seen over the past few years, a lot of advancements in terms of technology and safety features. So as of 2018, just the baseline for safety, blind spot warning, forward collision, improved headlights, offset crash testing, as well as rear backup cameras. So not only is that something that's going to be protecting the employees that you have in the village, but also those around you that are driving on the roads every day. So that's something that we take a lot of pride in, is making sure that our customers are as safe as possible in the vehicles that we put them in. Now, as far as the solutions that we provide a total cradle to grave process. So essentially, from the start, when it comes to acquisition, we're going to be factory ordering vehicles, which is directly through the manufacturer. That's going to give you the lowest price point possible. Whereas going through dealer, especially lately, typically you're paying at least MSRP, if not over. In recent years, if you go to a deal, you're typically paying about $10,000 more. Whereas we go directly through the manufacturers, we can also get government incentives, which even lowers that price more. Then comes down to the financing and credit lines. Now, this is what's going to open up a lot of cash flow for the village and allow you to get multiple vehicles rather than just one. Rather than going to a dealer and paying $40,000 in cash, we can get you 5 new squad cars, for example, for that exact same price over the term, typically about 36 to 48 months for those vehicles. As far as the fuel and maintenance programs, this is all streamlined, so you're going to be getting one consolidated bill. You'll also be able to track your fuel based on where, when, and how much fuel is being used. And you'll be able to see on the maintenance side, each repair order, how much is being spent. And we also manage those repairs. So if there's a repair over a certain threshold, we're going to be making sure that it's approved by the board or by whoever your maintenance contact is for the village, in order to ensure that the correct work is being done at the right time intervals. As far as vehicle resale, we have a dedicated remarketing team that's going to ensure that you get the most money in the most efficient timeline possible. We also handle all of the aftermarket for any squad cars, public works vehicles, anything of that nature, as well as the license, title, and registration. When it comes down to the administrative burden, that's definitely a big help. We do also offer a few other solutions, such as driver safety, which is essentially just running your MVRs every year, accident and risk management, which is where we would just file or handle any claims if there were damages to vehicles, as well as telematics. Now, this is our overall philosophy, and this is where we get all of our numbers and make our recommendations. So the maintenance costs and fuel costs go up drastically after a certain amount of either mileage or age. So those are the two things that's going to devalue the vehicle: mileage and age. So we've tried to find that sweet spot. As you can see by some of those notes on the side there, that's typical of a brand new fleet that's coming on board, where you guys are in a pretty good spot. But you can see the maintenance costs in the replacement window that you were at prior go up 2 to 3 times, fuel costs go up 25 to 30%, and resale values go down very heavily after you pass that threshold. Now, this is kind of some of the statistics where we find this. Based on what you guys have printed out, this slide might be a few past, so I do apologize. These are the statistics that we use in order to measure when we're going to be finding the right time for the specific vehicle. So for example, you can see that it's broken down by which type of vehicle, which odometer band, and where we're at and when it makes the most sense to cycle. For example, when it comes to your police units, you're going to cycle those out quicker than you are a heavy duty public works vehicle. So this is how we make our decisions and kind of have an informed and experienced outlook on exactly when it's going to make the most sense financially for you to make those decisions. So the biggest advantages that you're going to get from utilizing the Enterprise program is, first of all, just the infrastructure of Enterprise. Enterprise manages 2 million vehicles worldwide, and obviously we've been doing it for a very long time. Enterprise has been around for over 60 years, and they're the largest rental company as well as the largest fleet management company in the world. So we have a lot of experience and a lot of, I guess you could say, trial and error of exactly how things are supposed to look and what's the most efficient way to run things. And then when it comes down to us, Lindsay and I, having somebody local to come out and actually be able to be looking out for your best interest is something that our clients have really, really appreciated. There are other fleet management companies out there that don't provide the customer service and kind of that on-site feel in order to really, really get down to exactly what it is that you need. We're not always looking for, let's cycle these vehicles. We're looking for what makes the most sense to you moving forward. Now, when it comes to the client website, this is something that Scott has access. I'm sure a few more administrative people have access as well. This is going to give you a lot of basically information based on your fleet that you have access to at any time. When it comes to maintenance, you can drill it down by the exact unit to see why your operational bucket might be getting larger. And that's kind of an indicator of maybe we should cycle this vehicle out. It's also going to notify you if you have any oil changes overdue. You're going to be able to track any factory orders that you have to see when exactly they'll be coming in. Also be able to view all of your bills over the last 12 months in order to really, really get to pin down exactly where you guys are at. All right, now here's just a recent little win that I wanted to put in there for you. So Scott's truck that we got him in 2020 was a GMC Sierra double cab. The initial price was about $36,000. We were able to request and get approved for an $11,000 incentive. So the capitalized price that we were able to get this vehicle for came down to $26,675. Now, this was initially going to be a 48-month lease, but where the resale market was taking a turn at that time, we decided, Scott, this is a really, really good opportunity for you. So over those 20 months, $9,000 were paid, and we sold the vehicle for $37,000.
This is the first one, Daniel?
Actually, I'm sorry.
No, okay, this is the first one. I was only paying attention. Never mind, sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. So yeah, so at the end of the day, we were able to actually net a profit for the village after 20 months of that vehicle being used of $8,000. And that's just kind of a testament to having boots on the ground, looking out for your best interest and being able to make those decisions in real time.
That's kind of a unicorn, though.
Yes, not to say that that's going to happen every time, but that's just kind of a testament to, when the times change, we can kind of work with you and tell you exactly what will benefit you based on the circumstances. And lastly, the Enterprise Holdings Foundation. So as Lindsay alluded to earlier, we're always willing to give back. We do offer grants to a lot of different great foundations. So that's something that we're always looking to. That's everything that I had for you guys. Was there any questions that you had at all for me?
no questions. I just want to chime in at the end of it. I made a little note to myself while you were talking up there. I tell you what, one of the biggest things for me to get my mind around was just the term lease, the start of this, and just to break my mind from the concept of a lease that we've always known our whole life, where you're leasing a vehicle rather than buying it. I almost think it's an inappropriately used term and wish they had a different one for it, but what we're doing is not that. What we're doing, I kind of look at it as the best of both worlds that we would have as individuals, as private individuals, buying versus leasing. Leasing lets you get into a vehicle at a lower initial cash outlay, but you have nothing to show for it at the end. We still get to do that. We still jump in at say a 5-year initial term. It greatly depends on the type of vehicles. Public works vehicles don't translate to police vehicles, don't translate to admin vehicles. But it lets us get in, manage cash flow more effectively, yet still build equity. It's all the benefit of a residential private lease, but you're still building equity in the vehicle. And I think one of the biggest assets they've brought to the table for us is monitoring and telling us when the time is right to sell a vehicle and then selling it quickly. That's not anything we have the expertise or time to do on our own. And so far they've been great with that.
I would also like to add, in the case of the police department vehicles, in the past, we would try to eke out money in order to buy one vehicle. Now with the lease program, we are able to get the vehicles that are necessary to carry all of the increased gear and technology, whereas the old style just simply didn't cut it, so to speak. And they were, as I said, when we purchased them, we didn't always have the money in order to get the tools that we needed. But the lease program allows us to upgrade and continually add to the fleet as necessary. So thank you.
Thanks, Daniel.
Thank you for your time.
Item 6, treasurer's report and reported
Oh.
bills.
That's me. Right. Steve is recovering well. We trust for sure. So tonight we have expenditures per list of $118,181. We have an additional invoice that we're putting in the bills tonight that was not in the packet you got of $241,593. That's a new truck for Troy. No, that's the purchase of the house on Main Street. So that's 11243 Main Street that went through after these went out. So the total expenditures tonight are $359,774.13. We have payroll expenses of $88,792.41. Payroll tax and IMRF of $6,997.21 for total general fund expenditures this evening of $455,563.75. This leaves a balance in the general fund after expenditures of $9,947,049.98. We have no motor fuel expenditures tonight, and the motor fuel fund budget sits at $1,299,846.11.
There was one that caught my eye on there that had a question, something about a website. Thank you.
So it should shortly be coming to an end once we get our website up and running. But this is the transitional cost.
So it's
Oh, I got you.
yeah, Stu was our previous web host. We had them on a monthly retainer. We've divorced ourselves from that relationship. And so as now also our needs are fewer with Janelle back up and running and able to do a lot of things that we in the past relied upon our consultant to do for us. But there are times where you have to call in for something that's just billed hourly now.
Why do we have fuel costs sometimes and not always? Is that just a monthly?
Maybe we just get billed monthly from the WEX program. I would assume if it's every other month, it shouldn't be random. It should be on some regular cycle.
Monthly.
Month? Okay.
Dan, is that right?
Yep, it's every month.
There you go.
Is there a motion to pay the bills?
So moved. Second.
questions?
Any other question?
The Motorola bill, Sam, I was asking Ann about it today. It's gone up in price anyway since May.
For the Motorola one.
Yeah, radio subscription. I'm just curious.
I do not know why that would have gone up. I look into that though.
It was 806 on May 1st. And this came in on July 1st at 981. I'm just curious.
We can do it.
That's just radio, that's totally separate from CAD or RMS or anything.
As far as I know, that's just the radios that the portables and squads. I know that we did get. I got an email, I know that. That they were going to be raising the prices, so I don't know if that, maybe that is like their fiscal
okay.
year of July. I know the portables and in squads were both going up, for the monthly charge. So I'm guessing it's that, but I don't want to say that for sure without actually knowing that. But I'm guessing July is probably their new fiscal year.
I should have called you.
Oh, fine.
Okay.
Nope.
But when you find out the answer, just shoot her an email.
Yep. Will do.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? So there was a motion and a second to pay the bills. Calling the vote, please.
Malaco,
Yes.
Lima,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Babcock.
Yeah.
Petty,
Yes,
Item 6.3, year-to-date report.
I think a little sad.
Pardon me?
I think a little sad, but
Okay, if you take a look at the date, though, these are expenditures and revenues through May 31st. So before you get all excited about the bottom line, remember there are big bills that didn't come out of this.
so I will just gloss over this briefly. This is not, this will be something our treasurer will be giving in more detail at an upcoming meeting. We generally like to take the first look back at year to date and then comparing that to past years at the end of 6 months. So we'll be through June. So this one is a month premature. Next meeting, or probably the second meeting in August. Mark will be presenting one that's through all of June. But it's a good chance for you to start looking at how we're aligning on numbers, with the caveat, with the explanation always, is that all of our certainly our revenues that come in, property taxes, don't come in equally pro rata 1/12 every 12 months. Those come in a couple different installations, and all of our not all of our expenditures are equally distributed out in 12 even slices. Some of the insurance, for example, are once or twice a year in larger chunks. Obviously, on the capital side, we pay for projects when those are happening and when they're near completion, is when we see the biggest billing on those, and we're sort of just at the front end of a lot of those. So some of the large capital items will show that nothing's been spent yet. Doesn't mean we're doing great. It just means we haven't started getting bills on those yet. So really, you have this. I suggest maybe this is a good chance to peruse it, become familiar with what's in here, and then drill down a little closer when Mark's able to present it. I want to point out a couple things I noticed just quickly, though. Yeah, IT. There's an IT numbers already upside down, and I think my first line of a memo regarding IT stuff a little while ago, I think it was to this board yet, that was saying, fair warning, we are blowing the IT budget this year. And we are. I'll do my best to keep you abreast of how badly we're blowing it, but we were flying blind at the end of last year without an IT consultant at all. No one helped sort of prepare a forecast forward for expenditures, but also the new IT consultant that we brought on board, certainly, as you might expect, had identified our environment, as they call it out, and didn't like the ages of our servers, had several things he was concerned about, made recommendations. I mean, this board has approved of these purchases, but it's above and beyond what we projected to spend on IT this year. So,
But some things will come in well under.
absolutely. I think there's a bust in here on one. It's showing Public Works part-time wages already being upside down, but going that $8,000, I believe, is an error. That was 21,000 throughout the bulk of the budget, and if that somehow slipped to 8,000 at the end, that's incorrect. And so 10,559 tracked against 21,000 looks a little better than tracked against 8.
Well, I would like to suggest to everyone, as you look this over, you have some questions. You can send them in an email or present them when Mark Olson is at our next meeting.
That's all I have right now. The only one, like, I know that we're gonna be off in IT stuff, and then depending on making no presumptions, but just depending upon the disposition of this board to look more favorably upon property acquisition. You know, we had only appropriated $250,000. You see tonight, we approved 241,000 of that. That still shows a 0 on this year to date. These are things that there is a process for this. If we're not spending as indicated, we do a supplemental appropriation. We essentially tell them, and that's another public process, and it's basically saying, hey, we didn't have the right crystal ball, or more money came in than we thought, or something happened and we have to appropriate more money than we appropriated initially. That process is called a supplemental appropriation. I'm sure it's been explained before, but we don't budget line item by line item by line item. We don't have to make some kind of an adjustment for every individual line that might go over. Generally speaking, when you look through this and you see the bold headings that have an underline, so general fund revenues versus village hall expenditures. Those all, everything that has its own bold print headline with an underline, everything after that gets appropriated in one lump sum, all pushed together. So as long as that grouping stays within what was appropriated, there's no need for any follow-up or supplemental action. If it's just a matter of pushing money from one thing to the other, we could do something called a transfer ordinance. But when I think the good faith gesture when making a purchase that wasn't initially contemplated at budget time is the supplemental appropriation process. Yeah, that's all I have.
Thank you.
Is this report publicly available right now for the public consumption?
Yes, it's been used here, but
Maybe
it may have some inaccuracies, but it can be FOIA. So yes, it's available, but there are some oops here, some things that we have to check.
If people do a FOIA request or.
They can, yes,
But
it's a public document. It's a
It
public
is not
document.
publicly posted on any.
Right.
They got to do a request for it.
Right.
Currently.
Oh, it will be though, right?
Yes, but there was, if you recall at one time, we had said we would like to get all of the documents that we use here at our meetings posted. And we were going to develop a policy as to when to do that, as in, okay, if it's used at a board meeting, for example, you've examined it and you've approved it, then it gets loaded so that public can look at it. That was one suggestion.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it was, it's nice to have the public be able to follow along with what we're looking at as well. I mean, that's transparency.
So when we get our new website, be able to do that. Any other questions or comments regarding 6.3? Okay, moving on, item 7. May I have a motion to approve the minutes from the July 5 meeting? So moved.
Second.
Any corrections? Hearing none, calling the vote, please.
Simon,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Malaco,
Yes.
Babcock,
Yes.
Petty.
Yes. Item 8.1. May I have a motion to approve resolution 2023 R37, approving an agreement with ClearGov Incorporated for the municipal budgeting software, including operational, capital, personnel budgeting, and transparency portal. So moved.
I'll second it.
Questions? Comments? If you note within your docs, there is an initial setup fee of $2,340. and the subscription fee of $13,713.15. So making the total $16,053.15. Calling a vote, please.
Wright,
Yes.
Babcock,
Yes.
Petty,
Yes.
Simon,
Yes.
Malcolm.
Yes.
Any new business? There's nothing there. Old business?
I have a quick thing.
Yes, please.
I had a call from some individuals that live over by the water tower. And while they weren't upset, they said they wished they had gotten informed of the road work sooner than what they had. They also wished that our billboards would have been down there saying it was road work instead of looking for employment. Which is the comment that they weren't upset, but they were hoping to get better information sooner next time.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other? All right.
One positive note, I saw the trees cut down at Riverside Park. It looks really nice.
Yeah.
Looks pretty clean and ready for that park.
Vote no. Yeah. Item 11, public comment. Anyone wishing to make a comment? Anyone online? No? Public comment is closed. Item 12, may I have a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing property purchases?
So moved.
Second.
Petty, yes. Babcock,
Yes.
Malcolm,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Simon.
Yes.
Who do you want in there?
Everyone? Here?